Greetings and welcome to another broadcast of Rise to Prosperity, a show of education, motivation, and inspiration through communication. You may follow us on Facebook page Rise to Prosperity, listen to a live stream of the show at riseradiootr.com, or join in the conversation by dialing 404-910-3151. And now, your co-hosts, Minister Jamie and Lady Antoinette Eatmon.
Greetings and welcome everyone to another broadcast of Rise to Prosperity. Rise to Prosperity, just like the intro said, is a show of education, motivation, and inspiration through communication. And we are indeed glad that you have decided to spend your evening here with us. We're going to be here until around 10 o'clock this evening. And we want you to get your family, text your family and friends, and let them know that we are broadcasting live and that you would like for them to join you in our conversation room. If you're in the conversation room, then you have the opportunity to answer the questions that we are answering. We and our panelists are answering, and we will, get your viewpoint on whatever the questions are. So go ahead and do that. Send out your texts to your family and friends and have them join you in the conversation room. And while you do that, or before you do that, we want to set the atmosphere for the show. And I'm going to ask my husband and co host, Minister Jamie Eatman, if he will do the honors in setting the atmosphere for the show this evening. Minister?
Greetings, everyone. Peace and blessings be unto you all. We always begin with prayer. Let us pray. Most Holy Father, Lord, we thank you. Father, we're grateful for all that we've been allowed to do. We've had the wisdom to do. We thank you for opening our eyes, our ears, our minds, and our hearts. We pray that you will continue to do so. We also come praying for those who are in leadership, those who are in authority, those who are progressing forward your agenda, those who are bringing the kingdom more into existence. And Father, I pray for those who are in authority, those decision makers, those that you ultimately have control over. I pray that you will judge them accordingly. And Father, as we come before you right now, we come asking forgiveness for any sins we committed knowingly or unknowingly, as forgiveness for our trespass and for those who may have trespassed against us. We come seeking your face. As we partake of this program today, I pray that anything that will be said and done will somehow bring you honor and bring you glory, that it will educate, motivate, and inspire someone to rise above the situations and circumstances of their life, that your will be done. We give you the honor and give you the glory. It's in the spirit of Christ, I pray. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that. Now, what I'm going to do is a brief overview of last week. Now, last week was part 4 of transformation and change. And it was part 4. It was a very good topic that we had, and it went on, we thought, forever. But we finally finished it on last week. And some of the questions on the show last week were number 1, the world changes every day. Are those changes transformational? Our panelists were given the opportunity to weigh in on that question. Another was identify a change in or surrounding your life and the role you played in it. Now, with that question, we got to hear some testimonies. We got to hear some um, life-changing things, and how the the person that was answering the question actually played a role in those changes or transformations. And the last was our compare and contrast. It was between the move and the spirit of transformation and change. So, if you'd like to know how the panelists and some of our guests answered the questions, you're going to have to go to either Facebook, that's Rise to Prosperity, or YouTube, which is Rise to Prosperity as well. And that's Rise the number two, Prosperity. Or you can go to riseradiootr.com, where we try to update the videos there. And you can look at last week's video. Uh, Also, while you're there, you can check out some other things. You can check out our radio station, which is 24/7 gospel music, music that educates, motivates, and inspires its listeners. So that can be found at riseradiootr.com. Now I'm going to turn it over to my husband and co-host, and we get the show rolling. Minister?
Okay, thank you, Lady Antoinette. Greetings, everyone. Peace and blessings again. I'm Minister Jamie Eatmon, and I am indeed on the rise. I would like to welcome everyone. I thank those of you who are already arrived, those of you who shall see this later, and those of you who will not think it robbery to actually share it with others. I appreciate it. You know, I was thinking about my brother Brown, and there he is. Greetings, my brother. Peace and blessings be unto you. It is a pleasure
Greetings, Brother Brown.
to have you in the room. I was in the room looking at something, and Brother Brown put a comment that's very appropriate. He said that he made reference to. Well, let me find it. But I love the comments that he leave in the room. You know, he's a little bit more radical than most, so I have to try to come behind him sometime. But it was one of those things that was very thoughtful, and it was definitely in keeping with today's topic. So I'm going to go and look that up. But it was on point, and those are the type things that you definitely want to highlight, because the more people can hear and relate to things that are significant, the more of an impact it will actually make. And here it was here. Let me make sure I get it. But I think it says shocking. Never dreamed that I would be. Oh no, no, not that one, Brother Brown. That was another one. He must have been in there since I was in there last. Okay, let me see, where is it at? But I encourage you all, when you have some things that you feel pertinent, please feel free to share. And I say that we have a room, Rise to Prosperity. This is like a chat room, and you type in Rise to Prosperity, and it'll probably come up for you. But that's the one I was referring to. And I think this is it here. And it says, America, why are our citizens are not taught that lying is wrong, that hate is wrong, that oppression is wrong in homes, churches, and schools? And I like when he said that, because that's a question. And you notice he said ask America, but that's a question that everyone that could be asked that should be answering. There's some accountability that comes with that. And as I thought about it, that's definitely a question that we, and I say we, being the communities that I'm a part of. I'm a part of my home. I'm a part of my family. I'm a part of my congregation, and wherever I go, I have a sphere of influence that people come in. So we can impact that with the things that we share. And it's very important that we learn to share, because if you don't share, there's certain things that may not get said, and there's certain things that may not get done. Our topic for today is opportunities and occasions to rise. And I think it's that this would be most fitting with our topic.
Do you remember the doors? It's very important, especially if you're reading or listening to this message, that you remember the doors. Life is full of doors, and no doubt you have entered and exited quite a few doors in your lifetime. Doors are far more important than you realize. For example, you have heard, referenced, or stood at the door of opportunity. Do you remember the door? Consider the doors of opportunity in your life. As stated, life is full of doors of opportunity. Doors are hinged on time and are opened and closed within the moments of life. In an instance, availing opportunities and potential changes in our lives. Consider the doors in your life, both of your past and of your present. More importantly, consider the door that this message is opening here and now. Consider the doors of opportunity in your life. At this moment, remember the doors you have already entered and the thresholds you have already crossed. Doors of promise, disappointment, change, and/or opportunities, present or past. Consider wisely. You must accept with serenity the things you cannot change, and at least contemplate the question, what of the things that I can change? At this moment, remember and consider the doors of your life. Doors are just that, doors. They open and they close. Unless the Lord opens it, it will remain shut. And unless He closes it, it will remain open. Do you remember your doors? The doors of your past, the doors before you, doors you were courageous enough to enter, and the doors you stand outside of in indecision. These doors come with thresholds that, God willing, we may cross to enter or exit in life. Consider the doors of your life. Here is wisdom. We are neither pursued nor bound by the doors of life. The door of opportunity does not seek us out, nor does the door of indecision open or close itself within or without our lives. Know for a certainty that doors represent change, be it welcoming or challenging. Here is wisdom. Living in serenity is not the same as living in fear. Living in serenity is having the courage to rise above life's situations and circumstances. Be courageous enough to knock. Knock, and the door will open unto you.
All right, all right, all right. That was made at least about a year ago. No thought of using for a program or anything. I just love the way, sometimes you can look back and pull something out of the closet or pull something forward. Everything, it's like nothing is wasted if you know how to use it. So welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, Lady Antoinette, you've done the review. We've watched the video there. What were your thoughts of the video?
Well, I smiled because I hadn't heard it in quite a while. I like that. When we were doing the video, when we were making the video, I kind of got tired of it, so I wouldn't really listen to it. But tonight, it's like I actually listened to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and our topic today being what it is, how do you see the video in relation to opportunities and occasions to rise?
Well, those doors of opportunities and those doors of the occasion to rise. they can be opened to us. And when we get those doors of opportunity opened to us, it is an occasion to rise. So what do we do with it? What you gonna do with it?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. So when you saw today's topic, what were your thoughts of it?
Well, I looked at it as a topic that will cause for a lot of thought about opportunities that we've had in our lives. And I guess depending on your age, some will have more opportunities than others. Um, and I thought about also those occasions to rise. So in all, this seems like it would be a great topic for more um, life lessons, testimonies. So I think it's going to be I thought it would be a very good topic.
Okay. All right. When I looked at this particular topic, like you said, it will be good for life lessons. But more important than life lessons, because when we think about a lesson, you can associate that as something a person learned. But when we've learned something and we share it, I think that becomes more important, because if I can be empowered with some information and knowledge, when I encounter that particular topic or subject or that door or that opportunity or that occasion, I can better take advantage of it because I have the wisdom of someone else's experience when I encounter that. Many of us, we've gone through things and we had to overcome them without any input. So now we have that voice of experience. But if that voice of experience speaks to us and we have an ear to hear and we humble ourselves and we can receive that, it might help us to avoid something. We won't have that witness that that person has, but we'll still be able to share what was shared with us. And our testimony will be different, because at that point, it'll be more to God's glory or more of a praise than maybe the previous testimony that was heard, or maybe the previous experience of the person that was not empowered with what we were empowered with.
Right.
So I say all of that to say, I look at this particular program, Opportunities and Occasions to Rise, as one, hopefully, that will enlighten, empower, and enrich some lives of those who will have the opportunity to hear, and those who they may feel inclined to share it with. Because some of the things that are said are just that, they are words of wisdom. When we talk about wisdom, wisdom is that thing that helps us determine what we have to have the serenity to accept, versus what if we have the courage and we're willing to exercise it, that we can change. So wisdom becomes very important. So the more wisdom we have, the better. Okay.
Right.
All right. Having said that, let's go ahead and get started here. Okay. Do you believe that every day brings with it an occasion, an opportunity to rise? And explain your answer. Those of you who are in the conversation room, if you can text this Brother Brown did, as you noticed, I shared the information that he shared. I encourage you all, please share, and you can become a part of our discussion. When we say conversation room guests, that isn't any appointed individual. That's anyone that's in our conversation room. You are.
Yes. Amen. All right. Do I believe? Yes. I believe that every day is it should bring opportunities or occasions to rise, and that should be whether you are a 9 to 5er, entrepreneur, or if you are a housewife or work from home. There's always something, or there's always something that would give you an opportunity to do something more. Okay,
Mhm.
so I feel like yes, every day there is an opportunity to do something more.
Okay. All right. I like the way you touched on that, the job, the workplace, the home, wherever there's an opportunity to rise.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, most people don't get it. One of my favorite songs, it's a simple song, church song, religious song, whatever you want to call it, but it's probably one of the simplest songs there is to remember and that I could feel comfortable doing without messing it up. And it's this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. So when you think about that, this little light of mine, everybody has a light. Everybody has a light. But the decision to let that light shine is one of
Mhm.
those things that we as individuals have to make. So every day we all have an opportunity to do that. You know, some people they can come into a space and they don't know what to expect. If you've ever been that young person that went out for a new job, a job interview, maybe your first day on the job or some new setting that you went into and you just became when you become that wallflower for a while until somebody is comfortable enough to go over there and scrape you off the wall because they know how to break the ice, they know how to let their light shine, or until that point where something happened and you just realize I can't stay on this wall forever. But whatever it is, there's something that causes you that situation, a circumstance to change for you.
Mhm.
But our topic is about occasions and opportunities. They are always before us every morning that we wake up. What does it say? What is that saying? This is a new day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice.
Mhm.
You have an opportunity and occasion to rejoice and be glad in it. So all
Yeah.
those things are important. But Lady Antoinette, I did have a question for you. When you separated, whether it be it on your job or your home, is it different in occasions and opportunity, or maybe the person's inclination to let their light shine in those particular settings?
Yeah, I feel it is different because your job most likely will call for you to step forward, to possibly volunteer to take over something or oversee something, and you find it okay. This is my chance to rise, and when you're home, I mean, even though you don't have the people around you, you may love to bake, you may love to cook, and you may find a recipe that's going to take you outside of your comfort zone. And you say, I'm going to go ahead and do that today, or I'm going to surprise my husband today with this. And you step outside that comfort zone and you do it. So that was your occasion to rise. And I feel that no matter what your occupation, no matter what you're doing during the daytime, I feel like there are always opportunities to do better and more.
Okay, thank you very much. Greetings, Apostle. Peace and blessings. How are you?
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. You
Greetings.
came, you came just in time. We were on question number one there.
Mhm.
Yep. Um, Occasions and opportunities. Yes, I believe that every day brings occasions and opportunities. I think it brings more opportunities um, to arise. And because I think there's a difference between an opportunity and occasion.
Okay.
Um, Opportunities are always here. There's always an opportunity. Um, and occasion, um, I think we can make the occasion or the occasion will arise. But an opportunity when you wake up in the morning, an opportunity when you meet someone, an opportunity you go to the grocery store, whatever, there's an opportunity.
Right. Okay, I like that. Well said. Sister Kaya, peace and blessings. How are you?
Doing well, peace and blessings.
You're
Greetings.
all
Greetings,
right.
greetings.
You're just in time here. We were at our first question. Do you believe that every day brings with it occasions and opportunities to rise? Explain your answer.
I believe every day I'm gonna go off of what Apostle Crystal Harris said. You opportunities, yes, there is always an opportunity to rise. However, occasions are particular. There are moments, so it doesn't happen all the time as an occasion. But an opportunity, you always have an opportunity to rise. Occasions, there are certain occasions where you can rise in that occasion.
All right, well said. Sister Yana, peace and blessings. How are you? Can you hear me? Can you hear us? Are you muted, Sister Yana?
I am, but I'm at work at the moment.
Okay, all right then. We'll come back to you. All right. Everyone have heard what was stated. Any comments? Anyone? All right. Y'all actually got into the definition of the two. And so Lady Antoinette, go ahead and did you kind of single them out as to what they were?
Um,
How would you define them more or less?
well, I guess, let's see. An opportunity is something that I guess you yourself, well, someone opens it up for you and gives you a chance to do something, I guess, different in your life, especially if it's something that's in your field. That's an opportunity for you. And then an occasion is usually something where um, something's going on, and you see where, oh, this could be an occasion for me to step forward. And you can also do that in opportunities as well. Usually when people, when they take volunteers or something, and they say, well, don't everybody raise their hand at the same time. You can look at that as an opportunity, or you can look at that as an occasion to step forward. So I think they're pretty much, they're very close. I would see them as being very close, almost synonymous. You're muted.
Okay, as far as them being close or different, it's like if you look in the dictionary, there are two different words. They can be synonyms or similar or used or opposites or whatever. But those two words there, they can actually come hand in hand because an occasion to do so, it presents itself. If you have an opportunity, in order to have an opportunity, there has to be an occasion to do it. So if the opportunity is there, there's an occasion. So whether a person takes advantage of one or both, the opportunity, you're present, you just showed up, you have an opportunity to work. Are you going to use this occasion to work? That's a different story. So, but those two are closely related. So as we get into this topic more, that will become important, understanding and distinguishing between the occasion and the opportunity. Additional comments, anyone? If not, we will go on to question number 2. Okay, this one asks, what relationship, if any, is there between hope and life's occasions and opportunities? So this is like a multiple question because it requires some thought to give the answer to it. So what relationship, if any, is there between hope and life's occasion and opportunities? Kaya, I'm gonna start off first with you on this one.
Okay. Hope is a desire. It's a desire to do something. So you can have that desire and the opportunity just doesn't show up at that time. But I'm sorry, the occasion doesn't show up. The opportunity, however, if you place yourself somewhere with that desire, there is a higher possibility that you will get that opportunity. So there's as long as you have a desire to do something, you have a greater chance at an opportunity to fulfill it. The occasion might not come when you want it, but the occasion can also happen if you stay hopeful and have that drive.
Okay, well said, well said. All right, Lady Antoinette.
Okay. The relationship between them. Um, okay. Like Sister Kaya said, it the the um the hope or being hopeful, expecting something or looking for something to happen, um, opens up the occasion to rise. Hoping that you get that raise. Um, there could be millions of things that various people hope for. Hope for health for a child. Um, and once that health or that raise comes through, it gives you the occasion to walk into um, that space of I've got a raise. This is an occasion. It's a raise for me. So um, I feel the same way that, the hoping and being hopeful and expecting, having an expectation for something to happen will usually, once it happens, it will give the occasion to rise.
Okay, all right. Apostle, talk to us. What do you say?
Yes, I agree with both of them. Hope is a desire. I'm hopeful. I'm hoping, and we can hope for an opportunity. We can hope for an occasion to come forth and express yourself. Um, Hoping for the opportunity to speak, and that's meaning that I'm ready. I'm prepared, and if the occasion or the opportunity, can't think of that word, presents itself, then I'm ready to do whatever I'm called on to do.
Okay, all right, well said. I think my answer is very much in the same vein as yours, which is in keeping with what has been said. But I would add to that, when you look at a situation, we had a question earlier about occasions and opportunities, and that we are presented with them on a daily basis. The aspect of the difference between the two, as we gave those definitions, having an occasion to rise, the occasion can easily pass us by. If we're there and you stepped up to the plate and it's your turn, and all of a sudden, you more or less just wave somebody over to come and pitch hit for you, whatever the case may be. I think I used that properly. But it's an opportunity. You have it because you're part of the team. We all have that same opportunity. The opportunity is going to always be there. So, but when this occasion comes, whether or not it's exercise or you take advantage of it or not, becomes a real question. And that's where I think hope comes in, because a person who is hopeful, that person, as the tribulation works patience, patient work experience, experience work hope, and hope make it not ashamed. The person who has that hope presented with an opportunity or occasion, I think they're going to more readily take advantage of it, and they're going to be more eager to take advantage of it because they, in their mind, are ready for this, where someone else might be fearful of that moment. So I think that when hope is present, opportunities and occasions, we are willing to rise to them. I use the phrase, if you rise to the occasion, you will position yourself to be able to rise above situations and circumstances. So that person that has that hope, that person is on the rise. So when those occasions, opportunities present themselves, they are more likely to rise to the occasion or that opportunity than someone who lacks that hope. Okay. All right. Are we ready, Sister Yana? Or
Yes, I got a hot second that I can try to answer the question right quick, right? Good
okay.
evening, everyone. I was listening to the question and everybody's answers and stuff, and I was like, yes, we should always be hopeful to get the opportunity for occasions to arise. But when they do, you must take advantage of it. You must be in tune with the spirit so that you might take advantage of those because you might not get that opportunity again. When other people come into your life, but for a second, you be careful of the angels, be careful of the stranger because it might be an angel unaware. And don't be fearful. Once you get that opportunity to bless somebody, don't turn it down because you could be turning down your blessing or messing up a blessing. You got to be mindful of that as well. So stay in the spirit when you get the opportunity that you hope for to get to bless somebody or to get to be that one in somebody's life that they might need to see at that moment.
Okay. And I like the way you nailed that on the end with that they need to see, because you could be that image of hope that gives them hope. You could be that, as I mentioned earlier, that light that they see. That may be exactly what they need in that moment to move beyond where they are to where it is that they're trying to get to. Did everyone answer this one? Any additional comments?
What came to mind for me while everyone was speaking, when you think of occasion, what came to me was prepared. You want to be prepared during when an occasion comes. When that occasion comes, you want to be prepared. Even if you think about having family over, you want to be prepared. You need to know how many people are coming. You have to have, be prepared for that occasion, whatever is going to happen. If you want a child, you need to be prepared for the coming of that child to come to your home. So I think with occasions, you need to be prepared for the opportunity.
Okay, well said. All right, Lady Antoinette, what's the quote on that?
It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Okay, so if you listen to that quote, the word occasion is in there, because when that occasion comes around, the question is about preparedness. All right, well said, well said. Okay, that brings us to number 3. Number 3 is, what might motivate or discourage an individual from choosing to rise? And you're on the screen, so you can begin that.
Well, sometimes what may discourage a person is fear. Like the poem says, you are afraid to be great. You're afraid of, yeah, you're just afraid to be out front and center. You don't want the attention. Also, and then something that could motivate you, um, would be basically the same thing. You may want the attention. It will motivate you uh, to choose to rise because one, the opportunity has been presented to you. Two, this is something you've been longing for. And three, uh, it's what you do. So a motivation would be, uh, just having the opportunity, you'll choose to rise. Just having that opportunity, just having that door open, you will choose to rise.
Okay. All right. Well said. All right, Apostle, what do you say?
Um, what might motivate you to rise would be knowing the will of the Lord and being willing to do what thus saith the Lord at that particular time. And when he opens the door, be willing to walk through the door. Okay. Whereas it doesn't matter what the situation is, but are you willing to be led by the Spirit and do what you're called to do at that particular time? Sometimes it is to speak. Sometimes it is to say something to someone, but other times it might be to do something. So, and what would discourage you would be man or woman discouraging you from being criticized or and it's not always fear, but it's just the fact that I'm going to do this and you might not be appreciated for what you're doing, or even appreciated for the fact that somebody told you to give something and it's not accepted. You I hear Lady Antoinette always talking about how she's, a giver. But sometimes it discourages you from giving when people don't accept what you're giving.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one of my things.
Okay. Sister Kaya, talk to us.
So, what might motivate or discourage an individual from choosing to rise? Their mindset. Your mindset can cause you to be motivated or discouraged, depending on how your mind is set, your way of thinking about certain things. The same thing that can motivate you can discourage you if your mind is not transformed to rise.
Right. Well said. Well said. All right, Sister Yana, I see you there.
Yes, I got a hot second. I was paying attention. Um, what might motivate you or discourage you from choosing to rise? How about your body? Because our bodies is only set up to do so much for so long. Um, but it could motivate you or it could discourage you from whatever task that you've been given to do. Um, the body it plays tricks on you sometimes, but it also goes with that mindset. Because if your mindset is set up to do this, or you continue to repeat the quote of the word, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You can move forward every single day in whatever task that you do. But if you're not in the spirit, you ain't gonna move that way.
Okay. All right. Well said. Who hasn't gone yet? So everyone has gone except me. Okay, great. All right. This is I think a great question here, because motivate or discourage is going to vary from individual to individual. You know, you've heard the expression that you can't give someone else's testimony. You actually could probably give it, but it wouldn't be the same as the person that gave it. So when it comes time for making a decision or a person choosing to rise, they're going to choose to do so or not do so based on their experiences and based on, I would like to say, as Dr. King said, the content of their character. You know, this is a simple question, isn't it, about rising? But I want to bring out a very valuable lesson here, because sometimes we can be presented with some things that really challenges us where we are. And they call for us to actually rise. And when I say rise, it isn't a matter of just being present. When you rise, somebody's going to see you. You know, if you're there and you're the short person, you're hidden. But if you're there and you're the tall person, you're, especially like if your head and shoulders is above everybody else, you're seen. Or when you come out from among them, that's rising. You rise. One of the things that will motivate or discourage a person, I think, from rising is actually the content of their character. You know, today, I think Dr. King made reference to that content of the character. And to show you how important that is and how challenging situations can be. We know the story of Jesus in the garden and how he went and he made it known, if it be possible, remove this cup. There was a character, in a sense, that went to God saying, if it be possible, remove this cup. All these other times, you know, this is my son, hear ye him. When you see me, you've seen the Father. There was this whole thing with being his father's son. But when he got to that particular place, he presented this thing where he himself had to choose. Remember, the question is about motivating or discouraging one to choose to rise. So he had not chosen, but when he did choose, the sacrifice that came along with that choosing, because that's what can discourage or motivate. How costly is this? As Dr. King said, there are people will ask the question, is it popular? Is it political? And is it safe? And an individual that's concerned with those three things will more than likely, they won't rise to the occasion if it's any of those. But there comes a time when we must ask if it's right. If it's the right thing to do, then that's the thing that we should be about doing. And just as he was there in the garden, he had to get to a point where he could move beyond where he was. And in life, our situations may or may not be as decisive as that. So we can spend a lot of time in the gardens in our life. We can actually make the wrong decisions. It was still his choice to make. But we need to know what hangs on the hinges of decisions of that nature. It was said earlier, somebody needs to see you. Your presence and what you were presented with and how you handle it speaks volume. It could actually change the standard of how things are done in the work environment. It could change the standards of how things happen in your home. It could change the standards of how things happen in your church. It could change the standard, or should I say, the amount of respect that people do or do not give you. So whatever it is, I would say that content of that person's character, because character is not measured in time of comfort, but in time of adversity. So when it's time to rise, it's normally something that's going to put you out front. Not everybody's willing to be out front. That little raise may not be worth it to everybody, or whatever it is that you get. So that's my answer. Content of character. Any additional comments for anyone?
Yes, I was thinking on Abraham and Isaac, and how he rose to the occasion, not knowing what, just being obedient. You know, sometimes obedience, like they say, obedience is better than sacrifice, but obedience is rising to an occasion. And are you? I want to know if you choose to be obedient and rise to that occasion, because you might not know what the end is, or what God is asking you to do, but are you willing to do what God called you to do?
Well said. All right.
And can I piggyback on there? Because I sure was thinking about his wife. she took it upon herself, and she wasn't obedient, and she had to suffer the consequences as well. So it's either disobedience or obedience, or being willing to wait on God. That is definitely motivate or discourage your decision, because she was truly discouraged after the fact, after everything that transpired, because she did it in her timing and not God's timing.
Right. And I like the way you all are addressing that, because those are those things. You know, what are those things for you? What are those things for the next person? If you can imagine being presented with something, you know, the enemy knows us. He knows our thoughts. You know how we say God knows our hearts. Well, the enemy knows your thoughts. So when he comes at you, he's gonna, and it's time for you to rise. There's gonna be some things that's gonna be there that may everybody else may not see, but you're gonna have to get beyond. Maybe a invisible barrier or whatever it is, a challenge or whatever, or it might be something that calls you to run and take advantage of the occasion. But there are going to be those type things there, and we just need to be aware of that. Anyone else? Okay, if not, what I'm going to do at this time, I'm going to share another video with you all. I want you all to this is like a current event. For those of you who aren't aware, there's a question of dollars in education. And it's an interesting concept, because as we're looking at the topic of things presenting themselves, opportunities and occasions, sometimes they can appear to be mixed, give us mixed signals. I want y'all to listen to this, and I want to hear your input concerning it.
It's definitely a new trend where we pulling our kids out of these public schools right and left.
Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black History Month, said, when you control a man's mind, you don't have to worry about his actions. Yeah. You don't have to tell him where to go. He will go on his own as his conditioning and indoctrination makes it so. The purpose of the public school is to teach the black child how to fit and where to fit in if they expect to survive in America. You are taught who you are, not to find out who you are. You are taught how great the Caucasian is at the expense of your own self-esteem. If we want to birth free-thinking African children, you're going to have to create your own school system, because the purpose of public school in America is to prepare the boys for prison and the girls for poverty.
The concept of black young men need to be educated by us.
Yes.
Okay. Having heard that, who wants to go first? I want to hear you all's opinion. Lady Antoinette may not be available since she has the image up. Any thoughts on that? Okay, since I'm on the screen, I'll go ahead and go. I chose that clip because when we look at the things that are going on around us, when we say opportunities and occasions, sometimes some things may not look so much like an opportunity or occasion, and sometimes we may not know what to do with it. Historically, when you think about the things that civil rights fought for, education and to be schooled in the same school with white people was one of them. So literally what's being said here now is the fact that when we allow people to educate our children, it's almost like the miseducation that, as he mentioned, Carter Goodson, he was referring to the miseducation. So when we look at the concept of today, the thought of President Trump defunding education puts us in a scenario where the same thing that they were referencing are the things that we would have to be forced to do. And you got two different mindsets. One is the fact that, if you listen to that, they're saying that it would be a blessing. We'd be better off educating our own. So there's some issues surrounding that, which are dollars. And sometimes, dollars cause people to sell out or be bought out. But at the same time, what we are looking to do, if you have these different schools of thought, it doesn't really complicate the decision, but it leads or calls for some discussion. What are your thoughts on that video? Lady Antoinette's thoughts is a whom. Anyone else?
Well, I mean, I'm listening to what he's saying. He's seeking to bring truth to power, and him saying about raising the sons and the daughters, and there are things that we should be doing as a community, as a people, to keep those narratives from happening. Someone was talking about there's a study of words, etymology. Is that it? Okay. And how we use words and don't know the power of words. And the things that we do, it's kind of, it's just like in the worship houses. There are a lot of things that we do in our worship houses every week that are not biblical, but through tradition, we've adopted those things. And in adopting them, we've been doing them for so long that when the truth comes out, it's hard to believe the truth. The same with raising, I guess, raising the children, preparing them for a world that really does not appreciate them. There are things that we have adopted that we should not have adopted, but it's been going on so long that it seems that it is what should be done. And when the truth is told to us, it's hard to believe the truth. So I think what he's saying is apropos for now, for today, at least.
Okay. Anyone else?
I believe what he's saying is there's a lot of truth in what he is saying. The school system is set up to provide the children with what they see as educational. This means leaving out Black history, leaving out God, leaving out everyday living things that children actually will need that to be sufficient in this world. Given information that they feel is fit. I also see that the school system is like it's structured. It's always been structured. You sit down, you raise your hand, you eat at a certain time, you go to these classes at a certain time. So it doesn't give opportunity for the mind to grow in other ways. It gives, just the mind to focus on what they feel is educational, not what the mind wants. Each person is individual. We're all individualized, and we all our purposes are different. So if you're looking at the structure of that, you're not allowing the person to grow in their purpose. Math and science or whatever might not be what their purpose is in life, but it's structured to do things a certain way or learn different things that they want you to learn, not focusing on the person individually. That's why a lot of children these days are having issues in the school, because they're taking out recess. Where are they supposed to get all that energy out? Our bodies are made up to get out and move around and different things like that, but they want you to sit down for 7-8 hours a day and listen to information that's not stimulating to some minds. So I do agree with him in a lot of ways.
Okay, well said. All right. Anyone else?
Yes, I guess I'll voice my opinion. Basically, it's happened in the last, I'd say 60 years, probably longer than that, because I believe it was in the 50s in my area. Okay. Alabama was different. Mississippi was different. My husband was raised in an all black school. I was raised basically in an all white school. But before I before I started school per se, there were the all colored school. I remember the Brown versus Board of Education. Okay. I remembered us trying to get the education that we were lacking and the funding that we were lacking. That's why we ended up going into the public schools, into the public school system, because we got the leftover books. We got the leftover education. They taught us to the best of their knowledge and the best of their ability. Because even though a lot of our teachers in the black schools did go to college, but they weren't educated to the standards. Okay, so you can only teach what you know. Nowadays things have changed, and yes, private schools, yes, whether they be segregated or not, is probably better than the public school that's going to hell. So in some cases, it's better to have the private school because the educational system has failed us. So even though they had it to educate us, now it's failing us. So it's like choose ye this day, you know, what are we going to do? And we need to be able to support ourselves educationally. We need to start it at home. So if we educate the children, teach them, and I'm very proud of my daughter, how her daughter at 4 is learning how to read. But a lot of people aren't teaching the children nothing. They just send them to school and expect the school to do all the work. They're not teaching them to pray. You know, just because they took prayer out of the school doesn't mean that you can't pray before you go to school. Or, you know, put it in the children and teach the children the right way. But we can't depend on the school system to teach them.
And that is true. Anyone else?
Yes,
Go ahead,
I want to
Kaya.
piggyback off of that. That's true. You want it to start at home, but when you think about if the school system has failed, it hasn't just started failing. You know, it's been failing. So if you're telling them to teach at home and you're telling an uneducated person to teach at home that doesn't know how to teach at home, then where will they learn it from? So even though it starts at home, if the home doesn't have the equipment, the mindset to do those things, then where does it pick up? That's why when I was raised in the 80s, it took a village all the time. It's not just the home, because the home sometimes doesn't know. You have homes where parents dropped out of school. You have homes where parents don't know these things. They're getting, you know, schoolwork, and the parent doesn't know how to do the schoolwork. So how do you teach the child at home? So that's why I said it takes a village. It takes a community. It takes everyone to come together and try to help with raising and stop saying, well, that's not my child. They need to get their kid. We need to all pitch in.
Right. Well said. And a big part of that is how big is our community? And I use the word community, or how big is our village? Some of our villages, me and mine, everybody that's in this door, everybody that I'm responsible for. But there are some of us that have a bigger vision. You know, we are looking at the neighborhood we live in. We're looking at everybody that looks like us. If we are underdog, we're looking at the underdog. If we are justice oriented, we're looking at justice as being the thing that we are most concerned with. There are certain things that is kind of far more inclusive than some other things are. But as that video points out, and as you all responses bring to the forefront, the issue with education is an interesting one. I love what the apostle was able to say, and she made reference to the secondhand books. Those were the things that I remember being said in some cases, and how the child felt like they were inferior because they didn't have the same thing that white people had. But once that started, you know, there was some things that you couldn't hear anymore. For example, you got to be twice as good as white people. There are certain things that people taught at their tables. The reason racism continues is there are some things that white people taught their children at the table. Not all of them, but some of them. There's some things that and not all black children may have heard that statement, when you're black, you got to be twice as good. But there's some things that were taught. Even the mothers that were illiterate, they taught, they inspired. You know, some of them, their main concern was, that's my child doing more than I did. When I got my high school diploma, and even today with my grandchildren and all that, high school diploma, it never really meant anything to me. I've always been one with what I know and what I thought in my mind. But that is a very significant thing, and society looks at it that way. They are denying jobs based on where we are education. If you think about the tests, you know, there's a philosophy that when you do a test question and you write it a certain way, that it's written more toward one group than another. Now, is that true? I can't say that it is or isn't, but I know that when you look at testing and so forth, there seems to be a big difference in that. So we have people that study everything and the psychology of what's being done. There's a lot of systematic approaches to it. You were about to say something, Apostle?
I was gonna say yes, it is true with the testing. I can say from my point of view, I've got great grandchildren now in school. But when I went to school back in the 50s, and because I went to a basically all white school, they trained basically everybody. That's why I'm where I am now, because you were already, by the time you got out of high school, you had 2 years of college. They taught you how to speak. They taught you how to go get a job, no matter whether you were going to college or whether you weren't going to college. You still knew how to speak to people. Now the children don't even know how to speak to people, how to address people. The same thing with cursive writing. I don't know whether it's in the schools or whether it's not in the schools. We had cursive writing. I heard that they had taken cursive writing out of the school. Okay, how do you sign your name? I know you do everything over the computer, but how do you sign a piece of paper if you don't know how to sign something? We had not only college prep courses, we also had literacy courses. We knew how to write out a check. We knew how to do all these different things that they're not teaching the children nowadays. We had cooking and sewing and carpentry. There were all kinds of classes. They taken everything out of the school, saying that it's costing too much. It's costing too much to educate the children, but the higher ups are getting paid and they're not doing anything. So I can understand that shutting the system down, but what are you going to replace the system with?
Right. And you know, and that's interesting that you say that, Apostle, because I can remember, when you don't know the value of something and you're there, you don't know the value of it, so you don't get what you need from it. I can remember industrial arts. Here it is. We're working with wood. We had the little thing that you spin. It was basic, but at the time it was not equated to life skill. So you actually was just doing something. And I never saw what it led to. But I had that in junior high school. Believe it or not, I lived in an apartment complex, and there was a fence that separated my junior high school from my apartment complex. But it was in that junior high school that they had all this equipment there that was industrial arts. And I think they had the home economics program, that where they were teaching certain feminine skills to females and so forth. But those things that were there, I don't know what they're doing in the schools now, or I don't know what the mindset is in learning. But I do know that learning has to be intentional. I don't care who's doing it. It goes back to the village concept. When that child gets home or they're talking to their parents, and you asking certain questions, not everything calls for homework. That thought, how was school today? And a child gives an answer, and you follow that answer up. I love talking to people, adults and children, because usually the conversation, there's always room for a discussion, bringing out of a value or something that's going to make the conversation more rewarding. So I love moments like that. But those are the type things where we've been and where we are, and the understanding of where we are versus where we've been. That makes a world of difference. Motivate and discourage. I can remember as a child going with my grandmother to the field to pick cotton. I made a quarter that day. My grandmother was so proud of me. I was proud because she was proud, but I didn't know what that quarter represented. Now, the next time me and my cousin went, we played the whole time. We didn't go back after that. They weren't having that. But my point is, when we give people the mission, when people know what the mission are, they can then be better at carrying it out. If we can't communicate the mission properly, we will have people coming behind us doing what we have done, but it will not be with the same intent or the same end game. So there's a lot of things that need to be taught. And it will be like folks. But that was very important because that was motivation. That was inspiration. That is the thing that inspires some. So it's little things like that that we can still do at the home, in the home. And I like what my sister Kaya said about some people that were not educated. If you think that you are motivated by someone who wants you to follow in their footsteps, think about someone who knows the value or the cost, or how much they paid for the fact that they were not educated, inspiring or pushing you to get an education. That's a whole different motivation. Anyone else?
Yes, and you're right. It takes this new generation is taking them to a different level of motivation, because sometimes they do get stopped in their tracks because they can't do this, they can't do that. For instance, someone who can't read, where does their motivation come from that they want to read, that they want to go further? They just say, well, I don't have to worry about reading because I can do it physically, physical manual labor. It's time out for that. But is it a deficiency medically, or is it a mind thing? To whereas I won't be able to function if I don't go further. But okay, the society is not demanding that of me anyway. So why should I? These kids, these generations, they have so many challenges to them, but it's up to them to want to say, I got to move beyond this hill, this bump, move beyond this challenge and be motivated to get to the next level in my life. They have to want it for themselves. They can't want it because, oh, I need to fix this because somebody else in my future generation might need it. They're not thinking that far. They really not. And so if they not strengthening their wings to go further, they won't. If they don't have anything to challenge them, they just won't go no further. They are okay right there. And it just makes the question, what will this world be if they don't want to take it any further?
Right. And this that proves the point of what I was saying to you, Sistiana. When you think about the concept, if I say to my grandchildren, you got to be twice as good as white folks, I got to speak that. And it's like something I ate. When it comes back up, I get to taste it again. So I'm hearing it. And when I speak it to them, they have heard it. So if I said it and heard it, that means I'm trying to hold them to standard. And when they hear it, then there becomes an expectation. Minus that expectation, we get a different generation. Nowadays, for people to teach that or say that, you're not going to hear it in a classroom because of where we are as a society. And to be honest with you, I didn't hear that till I was a young adult about being twice as good. I wish I had have heard it because I cling to it even today. I think about how powerful of a motivation that statement has been in my life as an adult. I could almost imagine if there was someone that had given it to me as a child. So there's just certain things that we have to remember, and we have some things in us, but if we're not inspired, we can't teach what we don't know, and we can't lead where we won't go. So we got to revisit some of those things. Children are looking. They're looking at the example we're setting, and if we going to be okay with the fact that we didn't do something, they're going to grow up thinking it's okay. So life tends to regress as opposed to progress. So we got to keep pushing. For those of us who can achieve, we keep achieving. If we can't achieve it, we push, achieve, push. But we got to keep moving. We got to keep rising. And those are the type of things that everything we've got into here is still in the vein of this question here, motivating and discouraging an individual from choosing to rise. An additional comment. Yes.
Yes. I look at technology, even in reading. You don't have to read anymore. Push the button, ask the question, and they'll read it back to you. You can get a book on what they say, audio books now. And the book can read to you. You don't have to read the book. When I was coming up, the best thing that I liked even about school was even with spelling. I might not know how to spell the word because I wasn't good at spelling, but I sure knew what the definition was. The way we studied was through the definition. You'd get the words on Monday and you'd have to go through learning how to spell them, but learning what the meaning of the word was. Put the word in a sentence. All those different things, so that by Friday, when you came to take the spelling test, you had parts of the spelling test. You had to spell the word, you had to give a definition, and you had to put it in a sentence. Okay. Now I could have put the word in a sentence and I could have gave you the definition, but I probably spelled that word wrong. But basically, with getting my word letters and things backwards or whatever, I might have had all the letters, but I didn't have them in the right order. So nowadays, all they give them is the word. They don't tell them that they need to know what the word means that they're spelling. And if not, just turn on ask your phone or ask this or ask Alexa, whoever she is, for all the answers to whatever you want. You got the easy way out rather than studying.
Right. You know,
and the word says study to show yourself approved.
Yes, it does. It does. You know, as you were saying that, Apostle, it brought back the comment about the books and how we had the secondhand books. It's almost like there's something, you know, it says we war not against flesh and blood. But if you look at some things in life, we didn't have we didn't have the books they had. So money came into play to get the better books. And since you won't give us the better books, we're going to try to get in your school so we can get the same book. It wasn't as simple as that, but that's what it kind of amounted to. And if you look at now with the computers, you know, it was a time when if you took your phone to class or a teacher saw you with a phone, they would take it because maybe they knew that a person could actually utilize it to ask the internet a question. Can you imagine someone being in school and they're doing classwork with a phone? So rather than study, they're asking it of Google. Google gives them the answer. It's good for classwork, but when it comes time to take a test now, you may not be allowed to use that phone. So now the things that you would have gotten if you had studied, you don't have. You know, it's little things like that can be setbacks in great ways, believe it or not. But technology has been as much against us as it has been for us. It's good for, you know, someone to, if you can remember when you first came out, we thought our children were the brightest things there was because they could use a computer. And today you see even the younger ones are still able to use a computer. But now it's usually the games or something of that nature. So it has its give and take, but we just need to be aware that we still have power, we still have the ability, but it's going to call for exercising. We still make a difference. And believe it or not doing anything is a contribution as much as trying to do something. It's not an option to not do anything. We just can't let it go, and we definitely can't just give up. Additional comments before we move on?
I wanted to piggyback off of what you and Yana were talking about that push.
Yes.
So you have individuals who have generational poverty, and I'm talking about, you know, my grandmother lived in this project apartment, and now my mama stayed here, and I grew up here, and now me and my kids stay, you know, that generation that continue, you know, that type. So it takes someone to help their children. So it takes a push. Because you can see, and I've met children that they say things like, I never had nobody to push me, or I wish I had somebody that cared about me that much. When they hear their friends say, well, my mom won't let me go here, or my mom don't care what I do, or my dad don't care what I do. So, and they yearn for that push. So I still go back to that community.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is so true. That community is very important. You know, and a transparent moment. When I was in high school, I didn't have a clue as to how good or bad I was in high school. But I do remember one of the classes I was in, they had us fill out these applications, and we were supposed to send them forward. And I was in ROTC, and I sent forward my application. I can remember getting a response back from West Point. And because nobody in my family had done such a thing, and the counselor had not communicated to me what that letter actually represented, I never even took that letter home. You know, who knows what it might have said, you don't qualify, or we have no interest. But then again, it might have said something different. But you can't teach what you don't know. And nobody around me taught me. So definitely I didn't know. And because no one had gone before me, they couldn't lead me where they had not gone. So that's why you say, when you say a village, that's very important. You know, we need to realize the resources around us. If there's somebody in the neighborhood that's gone farther than we have, we want to make sure we utilize that resource. That makes a world of difference, because we never know what type minds that we've actually raised. Some people just aren't motivated. It may come in that latter stage. and they achieve all sort of things, but they didn't get it early on. Maybe because they didn't see it, didn't understand it. But we need to make sure that we are hopeful, never lose that hope, and be inspired by it. That greatness is not our inadequacies that frightens us most. It's our greatness. When we sit back and we are comfortable being marginal versus not willing to go through the discomfort of excelling, because that excelling is costly. There's the fear of failing. We are good at being marginal, but when it comes time to be great, that's when we have to step up to the bat. That's when we have to rise. Yes, Apostle.
That makes me think about Steve Harvey and his testimony about the third grade teacher asked him what he wanted to be. And he said he wanted to be on television, and she laughed at him and put him down about it and reported it back to his parents. And then the mother told the father, and the father told him to take that piece of paper that he wrote what he wanted to be and look at it every day and speak it every day. And he was able to even say, now I'm on television. I'm on television. But no, in the third grade, he's 60 some years old. In the third grade, if any of us would have said that, we probably would have been laughed at.
Right.
Not now, but I mean in the 50s or even in the 60s.
Right. You know, in Augusta, there's this young guy I work with. I used to work with these youth at the Lucercraft Laney Museum. And this guy was in a wheelchair, and we were talking about what they wanted to do. And at the time, I had never heard of sports for anyone in wheelchair. And this guy said he wanted to be a star player in basketball. Now I'm looking at him in his wheelchair and all of this. I couldn't even offer him a word of encouragement because I wasn't there. As a word, again, you can't teach what you don't know. But this guy went on, and I learned later that he did very well at basketball, even from his wheelchair, because that was actually a recognized sport. So we just need to realize that the world is full of possibilities. As we said earlier, when we wake up, we're waking up to an opportunity and an occasion. And if we rise to it, there's no limit to what we can do. We may have to convince some people, maybe people close, maybe people that's far from us. But we're going to have to rise to the occasion and get it done one way or the other. Very important. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next question, which is number 4. This is our compare and contrast. Compare and contrast. Opportunity and occasion to rise. Those two words, we're going to compare and contrast them. We started the program when you all gave your definitions. But at this point, we are specifically looking at them in conjunction or as opposed. So, Apostle, if you kick us off on this one.
Yes. Compare and contrast them. An occasion can be an opportunity. An opportunity can be an occasion to rise.
Mm-hmm.
But they are different in the fact that occasions come around not as often as opportunity. You have an opportunity every day. When you wake up, you have an opportunity. But that doesn't mean you have the occasion to rise.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Sister Kaya, what do you say?
Okay, so I wrote some stuff down on this one. So for compare and contrast the occasion and opportunity to rise, I went to Ephesians 5:13 through 17, and it says, "But everything exposed by light becomes visible, and everything illuminated becomes a light. This is why it is said, 'Wake up, sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you.' Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." So I got out of that wake up sleeper. get up and rise from what's holding you back, keeping you separated from God, and whatever is keeping you from being able to understand the truth, God's truth, and seizing that opportunity.
Right.
For occasion to rise, I went to 1 Samuel 10:6-7. And the Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and shalt be turned into another man. And let it be, when these signs are come unto you, that thou do as the occasion, and serve thee as God is with you. So what that meant to me is be prepared for in certain occasions you will have to rise to that occasion and do whatever the Lord says to do and whatever the Lord says to say, and knowing that God is with you in that occasion.
Yes, well said, well said. I don't know if Sister Yana's there or not. When she comes on, we'll acknowledge her. But the last thing that you said there, for some reason it popped in my mind. Occasion and opportunity, occasion and opportunity. And as I often talk about going to the garden, there was an occasion that was before Jesus, and there was an opportunity that was before him. So the two, if you look at the occasion, there was something that was a next step in his ministry, and he had the opportunity to do it, but he wasn't ready to receive the occasion. So if we look at getting to the opportunity, to the occasion, he had to go through several doors of opportunity. He had the opportunity to go before his father and say, if it be possible, remove this cup. He went before his father because he had the opportunity to do so, an opportunity that we all have. But when he came back and saw the disciples were sleeping on him, as you used the word arise, just to show you how important that is. There are some people that sleep on us. And if we get caught up in them sleeping on us, we could end up going in a circle, just as Jesus did, right back to his father with the same statement, if it be possible, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will. Now, you notice he's still in the occasion, but he's still in going back and forth. He hadn't embraced the occasion yet. So when you look at these two here, there's something that we all have an opportunity. You had the same opportunity as everybody else, but you did not take advantage of the occasion. When someone says, I remember when, they aren't remembering the opportunity, they're remembering the occasion. The occasion is when we act. The occasion is the interaction. The occasion is the engagement. So when the opportunity comes along, if we don't take advantage of it, we ain't gonna ever make reference to an occasion. We're gonna say, I remember when, as I made mention, I remember when I got this letter. I didn't do anything with that letter, so I can't give you an occasion or what the results was, but I can tell you about the opportunity that I had with that letter. So when we look at these two words here, they look so much alike and they are so intertwined. But when you hear me use the quote, rise to the occasion, it's because I understand that opportunity is always before us, but it's the occasion. And another one is the rich man. When he came before Jesus, Jesus quoted him, or they discussed what he must do. These are things here that he had the opportunity to do every day. But this occasion didn't come along but this one time for him. And even though he had risen to the occasion and all those opportunities, this occasion that he sought, he did not rise to it. He had the opportunity to do so, but he did not choose to do so. Occasion are literally those choices where we choose to act, or we can be crippled by fear, and we will not move ahead or take advantage of. So that's my thought on that one. It's just the three of us for the moment. Any additional comments, either of you? Yes, no, no? Okay. All right then. If there are no additional comments, I want to share one other video with you all. Why the videos? Because sometimes a video brings home a real message, and sometimes the controversy of who's speaking makes the message even more profound or even more attentive. So this particular message here, you all have probably heard it before, but we're talking about occasion and opportunity. If you take advantage of occasion and opportunity, it affords you the opportunity to possibly change reality. So I don't know what this is going to say, but this is our brother Farrakhan. He's talking about change the reality.
Don't tell me we don't have money. That's crap. Excuse my expression. Crap.
Okay, let me start.
Don't tell me we don't have money. That's crap. Excuse my expression. Crap. Now look at this.
Bull crap at that.
Right. Thank you, sir. $1.1 trillion comes through black hands.
That's right.
This year. So don't say we don't have money. We don't have unity. Right. And if we had unity and pooled our money, then we could begin to take control of where we live. If we don't have money, why are the Arabs here? If we don't have money, why are the Koreans here? If we don't have money, why is every immigrant that comes to America find their way into the black community to build their empire, their American dream on the black nightmare? So we have got to change that reality.
Okay. And I played that because we're talking about opportunity and occasion. And he said some things that people look at, but he also made reference to the change, the opportunity. What are your thoughts, if you have any, on this video before we move ahead? Either of you?
I agree. I agree with the part where we don't have unity. We have the money. We definitely have the money. We don't have unity. Before we buy from each other, we'll go to someone else. Before we build in our own community, we'll build somewhere else. We get the money and we move out of our communities. There is no unity. It's it's often talked about that racism is from other races, but it's within ourselves too. It's in our own communities. You don't like your brother, you don't like your sister, and you don't know why. There's no reason behind it. You just they don't know how to act, so I'm not staying here, I'm not staying there, I'm not building there, I'm not putting that my my store there or whatever. And that's why others come in and build their stores and their grocery stores or food places or whatever they build in our communities. The money is there, but we don't support each other. It's like a jealousy, towards one another.
Right. I agree 100%. Thank you. Apostle, did you want to add to that?
No more than I agree. And it seems like it's getting worse. There was a time when we did support one another. There was a time when we did have community. There was a time when we were a village. And I looked at the fact they talk about you put the children out when white people and whoever else people, no matter what their and we didn't even have the word white people. White people is something that they created. We were nationalities at one time. So no matter what the nationality was, we supported one another. We even supported one another during the Depression. That's how we made it through the Depression, was taking care of one another. We didn't, there was a time when you didn't put your children out. Everybody grew up in the same household, and if they didn't, you were always welcome to the household. I remember going to my great grandparents' house, to my grandparents' house, and everybody was allowed to say whatever they wanted to say to whoever, as long as they weren't disrespecting them. They were, could pull them up by the shirt collar or whatever to straighten them out. Now you can't straighten out nobody. You can't even straighten out your own. So, it's, the opportunity is there, but a lot of times we can't use the opportunity or the occasion to correct or to set somebody in the right pathway or on the right track.
I like that. I the last portion of what you said is the thing that we have to come to the realization of. And the last question was about choice. Because if you think about it, Apostle, if the opportunity is there, that means that we didn't take advantage of the opportunity. It isn't a matter that we can't, it's that we didn't take advantage of it. There's a consequence for everything that we do. There's a saying that for every action, there's an equal or even greater reaction. So the fact that we don't discipline when we should, whereas policy says you shouldn't, we're seeing the repercussions of that. So that is one of the things, when they came out with this call 911, you can call 911 on your parents. And maybe Kaya can tell us how that works, because usually if a call like that is made, there's someone that's going to come. Or if a child tells someone in a certain setting that they are going to act on that. So that introduces a potential fear that if we operate within, it gives rise to some things that we may suffer from and may cost us far more or be far greater costs as we move forward. Kaya, can you help us with that before I go to Yana?
Yes. Every state has their own laws, so I only can go off of Georgia. But Georgia state, as long as you spank on the butt, you're fine. It's when it becomes excessive when there's bruises on, the arms, legs, stuff like that. But you do have the right to spank, and it has to be on their backside.
Okay, thank you. All right, Sister Yana, you there?
Yes, it's a little bit. I can only respond like right quick to the being born. I was born in fifth generation. I was the youngest in five generations still living. I was proud of my heritage when I came into the realization of that. I love this. I didn't know any better when I love the fact we were in a community that were everybody looked like me, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. But I didn't come into the knowledge of racism until the fifth grade and integration and racism. And I was like, what is this? I was really taken aback because I had gotten comfortable seeing everybody that I need to see my same color. So, mm, it's a heavy thing. That's a heavy thing. But yeah, now it's time to change. It's time for everybody to integrate and be on the same level.
Okay, all right,
In
I
my
like
case,
that.
I want
Go
to
ahead.
back it off of
Go ahead.
in those days back then, it was more racism towards, and like Yana said, she didn't see it since she was in the fifth grade. I really didn't see racism, because I was born in the 80s, and I grew up in Hawaii, so that wasn't too much. And when I came back to Georgia, it wasn't racism within black and white or anything other races. It was my own race that hated me. When I came back here, I was in the sixth grade when I came from Hawaii, And it was, oh, you think you're better, you think you're this, you think you're that, and I didn't grow up understanding that, I'm just me. I don't know what you're talking about. So, and it can make children not want to go to school because they don't understand why someone hates me that's just like me for just being me.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's our own race.
Very true.
Okay.
I wasn't affected basically by racism. I was affected in Jersey when I went from an all white neighborhood to an all black neighborhood, but I did not, and it wasn't the racism, it was the cussing and the fussing and the stuff that, that black people did that we didn't do. But I think basically that was because we were sheltered. So by me being sheltered, my children were sheltered. So in all the cases, whether the racism was black against white, the only time I saw black against white was in Kentucky, and I still didn't understand it, and I still came up against it. But because there's no difference between you and me. So, but I figured in our growing up, all of us, us being different generations or whatever, and being family on here, it's because we were brought up in a sheltered generation. We were sheltered ourselves, so we didn't know what it was. Even if you're poor, you don't know that you're poor. We just had whatever, and God made, and it was always about God, and God always met the need.
Right. Okay. Well said. Racism, I think it's always been there, and so has ignorance. When I say ignorance, that's us in our community. That's the Willie Lynch concept that operates. We didn't know any better. When we heard people call a person this because of that, that came out without thought. We may not have meant to be as injurious to each other as it turned out to be because it was kind of commonplace. If you can remember the phrase "nigga please," that was never meant to be an insult one way or the other, but we used that word in such a manner that put it out there, and it carried a certain weight subconsciously, even if not consciously. So I like the information you all shared, and I can say this because I know coming from Alabama, and when I was growing up, I went to school with most people that were Black. There were two people there. I remember them like yesterday. A girl named Nancy and a guy named Ricky. And I remember them very well. But later on, when I got to high school and I was working a part-time job, I remember this guy used to use the term Bunta. Maybe it was something they was trying to mimic something Africa, but it was actually calling me Black. I didn't even know to be offended because I wasn't subject to that. But I look back now and I can remember his behavior, and he's probably one of the most racist people, looking back on that I've ever encountered. But because of way I was brought up, you might say, rather than being weak and bothered by racism, I was ignorant to it, but I was far stronger than him and his racist behavior was. So there's some strength to not knowing, but when we come in to know, that's when we can have the greatest impact because we can teach from a different position. People that are caught up in that, all of them aren't aware of what they're caught up in. Sometimes people can be subject to something and not understand it. And that's where people that have that knowledge, you could actually speak change or truth to, just like they say, truth can speak to power, truth can speak to ignorance. And oftentimes a good education will change a person's actions. Any additional comments? Okay, if there are no additional comments, You had one,
Yes,
Yana?
I did. Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
You're right. The being being ignorant to the racism is one thing, but realizing that it's being taught from the home, that's another. And when you realize, okay, you're teaching this at your house, what kind of world do we have to look forward to? Not only the racism, but the classism, the financialism, sexisms, all them isms, they start at home. And they so folks don't understand it's still lingering in your family because it doesn't go away until the last person dies that was taught that way. Yes, that was a way of life for those in and even back to it was a way of life in the South. Okay, so but it was a way of life in the South because it took so long for information to get to the South. We was all the way across in Hawaii. There are things that never even should have gotten to Hawaii because it didn't even affect people way across the other side of the world. So it starts in the home. It starts whether it's racism or not, but whatever you're teaching, we got to teach positivity because it's a proven fact that every time you say something negative, your brain shrinks.
Okay, Yana. Yana, you said that like you were in there with them when they did the study. Were you
But
about to say something, Apostle?
yes, but the other thing is, um, we weren't my generation and the generation before me and the generation we weren't we were loved, but we weren't taught love. We weren't from my generation down. It's I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I never heard my mother say I love you. I never heard my father say I love you. But I knew they loved us. You know what I'm saying? Maybe in my mama's later years she might have said it, but she probably said it just because we said it, in return to the statement of saying I love you. But all of my generations behind me, we talk about love. And my daughters are witnesses that it doesn't matter whether it's the children, the grandchildren, and then I have a relationship with them. Even though I had 5 generations, I didn't per se have a relationship with everybody. I had a relationship with my grandmother because I was at my grandmother's house constantly. I had more of a relationship with my grandmother than I did with my mother. But my mother was raising my brothers. So it was just me and her and say my grandfather or whatever and my great grandmother and all that. We had relationship, but we weren't together like I am with my family. It doesn't matter who it is or what grandchild or whatever. I'm going to reach out and I'm going to touch them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I want to go off of what you just said, just to clear some things up. Um, yes, that is so true that they didn't say it. I don't remember hearing the "I love you," and it took a long time, and that's because that's how you were raised for you to start saying it. But we said it so much that you began to say it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
So
That's
if
it.
you can instill something, that's what I'm just saying. You can instill something in someone, even if it's been generations of doing something one way. If you can instill, they can change. Transformation can happen because that's what happened.
Right.
That goes back to last week, transformation and change.
Yeah. And that goes back to that saying, a person can't lead where they won't go because they hadn't gone there. It was hard to lead there. But because it was learned and brought back, the love, as Apostle said, was there. It probably took a little time to say that, not because it wasn't felt, because as she stated, whether a person said that or not, you knew if you were loved. But it makes a difference, when a person does say that, particularly when someone says it to you, it's easier to get that from them versus someone who doesn't say it. There's no need for you to respond. So you may not know that. But that's an interesting concept. It's that my mother had 6 children, and that was never a word you heard in our house. And even now, my brother, my sister, when I speak with them, we can say I love you, but that's a conscious thing because we definitely weren't brought up with that. But love is love. It isn't a matter of loving or not loving because one do or don't. But it's like character. Character is measured in time of adversity versus time of comfort. But it's a good thing to have. Got to rise to the occasion. Love you, love you, love you, love you. Any additional comments?
Yes, I I beg to I want to beg to differ with what you said because folks don't always know that they love. No, that you want to be felt. You either hear it or you feel it. And if you, like you said, if you don't see it in your house, you don't know how to display it. So therefore, we take for granted that people were nurtured because that's where the love part, where you felt it. That's where the love part comes. If I didn't know to nurture this kid in between their first 9 months, they not gonna know what love is. They not gonna know how to feel it. They're not gonna know how to display it or even show it again. So it's exactly what you said on the point. It's a conscious thing because now me as an adult, here I am now 20 years old. Oh, well, I guess I need to tell somebody I love them. I see other people doing it and I see the relationships that have been built because of love. Maybe I need to be more conscious of the fact that God is love. I'm teaching love. I'm showing love. Maybe I need to say it more. Maybe I need to convince someone or do what it takes to make them feel loved when they come in my presence. When that opportunity arises, I want them to know that. I don't want them to leave this earth without them knowing that I did or didn't love them. If I have something to say, the word says you got to ought before between your brother, you better speak it so somebody don't go to their grave with that ought still being in the air. Because they
Right.
say people die of a broken heart. A broken heart could mean they didn't think nobody loved them. That's what suicide is because they didn't think somebody loved them. That love thing right there can take a couple of different twists, but you got to feel it, know it, say it, understand it, display it. It comes in many forms because love is an action word.
Okay, I like that. And this is what I would say to this, Yana. For everything we just said about love and speaking it, there's a thin line between love and hate. And that line is probably as thin between truth and lies because there's so many people that speak that lie. So whether we say it or not, that portion that you kind of focused on about feeling it, if a person never told me they love me, it would make a difference as long as you showed me. But if you keep telling me you love me and you're not showing me, you're aggravating the hell out of me because I ain't that ignorant. I know the difference. So I think that portion, what you're saying, is good. And we want to get to that point because it does take something to tell someone you love them, unless you're just a habitual liar. And if you hadn't been doing it to get there where you can, that's an accomplishment. But beyond the saying I love you, it's the showing I love you. I want to share this with you all. I went to Augusta to pick my grandson up, and I picked him up from a detention center. And I was asking to bring him to Fayetteville from Augusta. Now that's a move that don't happen every day. But as we were talking to him, I listened to the guy that was speaking to him, and the guy said something that really stuck with me. The guy said, "Action is priceless." Think about that. A promise is of no value. Don't promise me nothing. But an action is priceless. Don't promise me, show me. So that goes back to our conversation with love. It's good, and that speaking love If it's coming from the right place, or even if it's coming from the wrong place, just fix your lips to say it. Somebody might be impressed with it. But when you go and you show it, there's no question about it. So I just wanted to add that. That brings us to a point where we are ready for our Emmy moments. We're going to stop there with the questioning. Any additional comment on what I have said? I'll let whoever come up, and then you can go right into your Emmy moments. But at this time, we're going to go into our Emmy moments, and we will pick up next week with the additional questions. Any additional comments, anyone? All right, then. In that case, Apostle, I'll let you go first. Your Emmy moment. Unmute yourself.
Yes, my Emmy moment would be to rise to the opportunity and to the occasion.
Yes.
And be positive. Show love. And love is an action word. So every opportunity and every occasion to show love, let us show love, because love is what was given to us. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son.
Amen. That's scripture. All right, Sister Kaya.
My Emmy moment, where I would say seize the moment, seize the opportunity, be prepared for the occasion, and rise when you are called.
All right, now go ahead, Sister Yana.
Good evening again. Whew. I had wrote mine down and I left it at work, so I'm gonna do my best to remember it. It's better to prevent and prepare than to repent and repair.
All right, go ahead.
No, I was asked to close out the show, and I bet
Well,
since
then
I
let
was
me.
the last on the screen,
Well, let me give my Emmy moment.
you do that.
Okay. All right. My Emmy moment is this. You know, situations and occasions are going to arise. And when those situations and occasions arise, it presents you with an opportunity and it presents an occasion. Either we can go through life subject to what life actually throws at us in the position of situation, circumstance we find ourselves in, or we can dare to change. We can dare to be the difference. I would encourage you to exercise wisdom first and foremost. And if wisdom says there's a possibility that you can change your situation or circumstances, or you can be the change, there lies an occasion. I would encourage you to rise to the occasion, because when you rise to the occasion, you are better positioned to rise above situations and circumstances. Be the difference. Don't hesitate to be and make the difference. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings to each of you. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining on the panel and joining on our different platforms. We offer you the opportunity to come and join us again here each and every Wednesday night from 8 p.m. until 10, where we have definitely great conversation. It's sure to make your eyebrows rise. So, will you join us, join Minister Jamie on Fridays with the Rise to Prosperity Community? Is it community or is that the broadcast, the radio broadcast?
It's on the Rise
On the
movement.
Rise movement as well.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And our commercials?
Okay, if you want that.
Greetings, peace and blessings. You're invited to Rise to Prosperity, Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. I, Lady Antoinette, and my co-host, Minister Jamie Eatmon, would love for you to join us
our panelists, and our conversation room guests Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. as we rise to prosperity.
This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism.
And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth.
Greetings, I am Jamie Eatmon. Join me Fridays at 8 p.m. to our On the Rise movement.
All right. And as we close our show, we're looking forward to seeing you again. Let's rise to prosperity together. Good night.
Peace and blessings, everyone.